introduce yourself, although I guess I just did, and share your address and the topic for which you'd like to address us with, please.
Yes, I'm Larry Hamilton, and I live at 1104 Maplewood Drive. And the topic that I would like to address the board is concerning naming rights and the agreement that was made between the board and the UVMC, Good Samaritan Hospital, and Premier Health Network. But before I start my remarks, I'd like to say congratulations to Mr. Moore and Principal Henderson and the staff at Washington Street School, and congratulations to the budding musicians that are developing there. I'd also like to congratulate the board for their gold level service to the community. And now, having said that, I stand before you this evening because I believe the Piqua Board of Education was wrong in the decision it made and the process undertaken to sell the naming rights of community-owned public properties. Since 1992, I have been publicly advocating what I referred to then as ownership identity. I first used the term in a commentary to the Piqua Daily Call about naming patterns or the lack thereof in connection with people of color. I have long advocated this kind of action as being the right thing to do, not only for my community of Piqua, but as a regional, national policy and goal. In the early morning of January 23, 2005, while studying my Sunday school lesson, I was blessed with an epiphany on the extension of ownership identity that I have tied to what I call the right concept. RIGHT is an acronym for recognizing individual greatness in historical testament. This concept embodies the concern over the historical bias in naming patterns and the contemporary artificial barriers limiting the expansion of ownership identity of public properties to the wealthiest among us, and thus further imposing class and cultural limitations upon those individuals belonging to groups that have traditionally been denied consideration. In the past, a largely singular cultural identity and gender has been given an exclusive place of privilege associated with public ownership identity. Cronyism, elitism, and political influence also have paved the way in the process that leads to public ownership identity. Today, however, there is a glaring encroachment into public ownership identity by corporations like Good Samaritan and the Premier Health Partners Group that are able to successfully market and advertise their names without closer scrutiny in determining whether or not businesses are socially responsible and have good corporate citizenship. Too often, it's been all about the Benjamins. If it's greed, it leads, at least in naming rights and ownership identity. But in our community, at least, an intercessory conversation by a diversity or right committee, according to Resolution R-110-07, is supposed to take place. While the committee is only an advisory body, it would have an opportunity to publicize and galvanize public opinion in support of our opposition to naming rights and even make recommendations offering proposals for other viable options. Section 1C of Resolution R-110-07 states that in the sale of municipal property with facilities naming possibility, the purchaser shall be informed of city policy and naming alternatives as they relate to the recognition of diversity in the community. The Piqua Board of Education was either sadly unaware of this resolution or was callously indifferent to its policy goals. In the final analysis, the Piqua Board of Education could ignore the recommendations of the Diversity Committee, but at least there would be this procedural hurdle to climb, and the people's representatives could certainly be held to greater accountability at election time. Piqua residents that are called upon to voluntarily contribute to city or board authorized construction projects or publicly held properties should merit greater disclosure about potential naming rights changes or additions to the properties to which they have originally been solicited for development or construction of projects. My name is located on the plaque as you enter Alexander Stadium Perk Field. People solicited my money, what little bit I had to contribute. But I believe that I have a right and an obligation to be involved in the expansion of that ownership identity. I may be perfectly comfortable with Alexander or Perk, but I know little about Good Samaritan. They should have been asked to come before the board in a public session and give an accounting of their corporate citizenship. Do they intend to pay for their naming rights, marketing strategy by raising the cost of medical care to an ever-expanding number of people who are faced with decisions of home payments or seeking medical treatment that could result in the foreclosure of their property? Is the naming rights campaign throughout the Miami Valley the justification for the huge 59% salary increase of hospital CEOs, or specifically the $4.1 million salary of the top CEO representing the leadership of Good Sam? Even if the board has acted within its authority, it has not done the right thing. But it is not too late. The board and Good Samaritan can affect a win-win situation right now. The board can state its intent to endorse the resolution R-110-07, and Good Samaritan can agree to embrace the spirit of the right concept at a minimum in posting signage in association with its new ownership identity that recognizes the selfless sacrifice of service to humanity of a local, regional, national, or international personality, chosen in consultation with grassroots or advisory bodies in every one of the communities in which they have purchased naming rights. In Dayton, it might be the Catholic Sisters of Charity, who were the original founders of Good Samaritan. In Huber Heights, it could be Mother Teresa, a true and authentic Good Samaritan. At Springboro, it could be Ben Carson. At Trotwood, it might be Claire Barton or Florence Nightingale at Northmont. In Piqua, if Upper Valley and Good Samaritan really want to do the right thing, then I suggest they would do well in considering a tribute to the Randolph people and the sponsorship of the Upper Miami Valley Football Preview. The time is right to do what is right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamilton. Does anybody from the board have any questions of Mr. Hamilton? I would just like to comment a little bit about the agreement that was ratified I believe it was at our last meeting. There's over a year's worth of work that has gone into this agreement, many meetings and countless hours to develop what we feel is a very good agreement. I respect your opinions. We as a board looked over the detail, and we are in a position to do what is best for our kids and provide as many opportunities and to develop a curriculum and an education offering that is top-notch. And the monies that this agreement allows our district will offset some local share of taxpayer money. And as you know, and we all know, our economy is hurting, and many people are struggling. And we have been very, very benefited greatly by a very generous community that have passed levities to support what we are doing. And in the nature of that, this agreement allows for us to continue offering an outstanding education for our kids. And that was the impetus behind our ultimate decision to enter into a marketing agreement with UVMC. This isn't a naming rights, this is a marketing agreement, which we do have policy that allows us to make those kinds of decisions. I can speak personally that the particular resolution that you mentioned, I will speak naivety. I honestly was not aware of the resolution, and I can say that it did not come into my process of making this decision. I cannot speak on behalf of the others because I'm certainly not aware as to whether they were, knew of this resolution or not. We will review the resolution that you've submitted to us, and we will certainly get back with you in regards to how we plan to move forward.
Thank you. I appreciate your remarks or comments here, and recognize that in all probability there was a great deal of diligence and effort expended towards the development of that agreement. However, a part of what I'm contending is that the process was flawed in terms of allowing for the public to have a greater role or awareness of what was taking place. And to that end, I have developed a number of questions which I have submitted to the board. And I would like the board to, at its earliest convenience, to respond to those questions. There are some questions that pertain, I believe, to policy concerns that could be adopted by the board that might alleviate the kinds of problems that I see with the process that had taken place in connection with the agreement that came into being with UVMC and Good Samaritan Hospital. But I hope that, we can learn from this experience and perhaps work better in terms of having the city work with the Board of Education, particularly in connection with issues of diversity, and that resolution specifically. Thank you very much.